Hei, velkommen til Pengeland, en podcast om økonomiens skyggesider. Jeg heter Jonas Veland, og jeg sitter her med Kaja Guttormsgaard. Hallo, Kaja.
Hei, Jonas. Mandatory hei.
Ja, du må svare.
Ja.
I dag så skal vi snakke om Bangladesh, og det er kult. Vi har fått besøk av en professor på Høgskolen på Vestlandet som heter Abdul Quddus, som kan masse om Bangladesh, og forteller oss veldig mye om Bangladesh sin historie. Han starter med å gi en ganske sånn grundig innføring i Bangladesh sin historie, men også, og det er det mye av episoden dreier seg om, det som har skjedd det siste året. Det kan du fortelle om, Kaja.
Ja, fordi den innledningen, den rammer egentlig inn ganske store endringer som har skjedd siden 2024.
Siste 2 årene, herregud. 2026.
Siste 2 årene, ja. Ja, det er 2026 nå, Jonas. Fordi for halvannet år siden så skjedde en megaendring i Bangladesh. Folk tok til gatene, det var enorme studentledede protester mot regimet, og det førte til at det regimet som var i voksende grad autoritært, falt, og det hadde vært på plass i 17 år. Og de flykta til India, og etter det så ble det satt på plass en sånn interim government som har gjort enorme granskninger av både det politiske og det økonomiske systemet i Bangladesh, og gitt en ganske brutal diagnose på tilstanden for landet. Så det skal vi grave mer inn i nå med Abdul, så vi kan egentlig bare hoppe til intervjuet.
Ja. Abdul, welcome to Pengeland. Very nice to have you here.
Thank you, Kaya. It's very delighted for me having me with you and your team as well.
Good, good. Could you maybe start by introducing yourself?
Thank you. Yes, I'm a professor here at the Western Norway University of Applied Science. I'm working in the Department of Business Administration. And actually, before I moved to Norway in 2020, I worked in a different country, in a university in Bangladesh, in Malaysia, in Singapore, a little bit in Brunei. And then I moved in the middle of 2020. I got a job as a professor at the Western Norway University. Or you call it Høgskolen på Vestlandet in Bergen. So yeah. Great.
So you've lived in Bangladesh for some time, or?
Yeah, I lived in Bangladesh. I worked there, and I also work as a consultant for a government project. So I actually work, my research area actually is politics, administration, and organization in the Muslim countries, more particularly in Bangladesh, Maldives, and Malaysia. So these are my area. And I was also work as a consultant or policy paper designer for education, higher education reform in Bangladesh.
That's super interesting. It's we've wanted to do this episode because it's been quite a wild year in Bangladesh. So it's great that you've done research on that country and also been there for quite some time. Could you maybe tell us a bit about Bangladesh? You know, to give it some context for what has happened the past year.
Well, that's the history. It's an interesting land, country, and I can say it's a tropical country, South Asian nation. Bangladesh is a relatively new nation which got its independence from Pakistan in 1971 as a result of a bloody war. And the Bangladesh journey from Pakistan to Bangladesh, the history go back to the British colonial rule in India, which was ended in 1947. And then British India was divided into 2 independent countries. One is called Pakistan and another one is India. And Bangladesh was the part of the then Pakistan, and they call it East Pakistan. But the West Pakistan failed to treat East Pakistani, now Bangladesh, equally as the citizens of one nation. For example, the mother tongue, which is Bangla, of 7 over million people speak that language, was not recognized as one of the national languages. Economic discrimination and unfair resource distribution, all these made people highly dissatisfied and angry, and thus liberation was started in 1971. But after the independence, and until 2026, within the last 54 years of country's independence, people still experience injustice, unfairness, democratic backsliding, administrative and political elites-dominated policy in every aspect of citizen life. So as a consequence of injustice, unfair system in place, undemocratic rule, elite-dominating political culture and public policy, people of Bangladesh actually express their dissatisfaction with street demonstration, sometimes with violent means in 1969, in 1971, 1975, 1990, and lastly, the revolt, they call it the July Revolution, happened in 2024. That also resulted the fall of the Sheikh Hasina regime, and she and her party's senior official took shelter in India. If I may talk about the recent unrest, or the July Revolution, they call it, started with a student protest, especially the student from University of Dhaka. They were against the quota system in public sector recruitment, or they call it cadre system. These are the only highly competitive but also highly desired jobs with high salary, official and other benefits, and of course the symbol of power, status and prestige. So during 17 years of Hasina's rule, 50% of total public sector jobs were under quota system. And within quotas, again, 30% were freedom fighters quota, they call it. The people who fight for the independence in 1971. So their children, their grandchildren are only eligible to get public office job under this quota system. But this is 30%. But this 30% quota was actually used by the Hasina regime, Sheikh Hasina regime or Awami League, to recruit party men in public offices, including police, judiciary, and civil services. So the student wanted this quota either to be removed completely or reduce it to a minimum percent, say 5%, so that general student without having the political identity or political affiliation with any political party can get the job with fair and competitive exam. Hasina regime once declared in the parliament to abolish this quota system, but then again took it back to the court or judiciary to restore it. That actually triggered the student movement, what we call the July Revolution.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And I think we're for sure going to go more into the what happened in 2024 and also after. But could you also quickly, just for listeners who are not so familiar with Bangladesh, could you give a little bit of an outline of the political system and the way that it was until 2024? You've mentioned some key players here. There's Sheikh Hasina and the Awami League, and you've also said some things that are indicating maybe a bit of a capture of certain public official roles by people who are loyal or party members. So could you give a bit of an overview of the political situation?
Well, the political system in Bangladesh, actually, if I may say, is actually party control system in every place, from administration to the judiciary to the bureaucracy, even the business community. That's a party dominant. So winners get all means that when one party or party with an alliance, they got the maximum seats in the parliament, that means they are the winner. And they influence people's life in every way. For example, the Hasina tried to put back, which I mentioned, or reinstall the quota system through the rules of the loyal judiciary. Why they are loyal? Because under the quota system, the people who would be recruited in different civil service system, they would be party men, they would be party loyalist. So whenever there's something they cannot do, or because of the political pressure, they take it to the court, for example, or take it to the police to handle it. So the political unrest always started with the political parties' decision, and most of the things settle actually on the street. In Bangladesh context, I should say, you will see the regular demonstration on the street because the system are so politically biased.
Yeah.
And the general public cannot raise their voice. So the only things they do is to take to the street.
Yeah. So it's interesting because on paper, Bangladesh is a democracy, right? There has been multi-party elections in previous years. But the way I understand it, since maybe, I don't know, at least elections in 2014, 2015, there has been kind of a dominance of the Awami League and of Sheikh Hasina. Is this what has led to this development that you've said of public positions being given to loyalists or party members? Or has it been like this always? It's just been a switch of parties with elections?
Well, this politically chosen people in the position is being the practice since the independence. The politician failed to understand the people's desire and that's what I mentioned. The people took to the street in 1969, 71, 75, 1990. All of this mass mobilization, political unrest, and there was change of regime. But then again, whoever come to the power, they actually follow the old method of political dominance, corruption, mismanagement, quota system installation, or partyman or loyalists to be in the position, key position in the government. Not only the ministerial position, but including even in the bureaucracy, in judiciary, in police, for example. So, but the things deteriorated very badly during the 17 years of Hasina regime. It was particularly a peculiar, or I should say the one they call is not democratic backsliding, but is democratic autocratization. Like there is a democracy, there is an election, but election is called between we and they, meaning that my party and my dummy candidate will only can compete. The other cannot. They will find ways and means so the opposition party cannot compete in the election, for example. It was actually started when the Hasina came to power in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2009. Since then, she was just like so desperate to be in the power, and then some scholars even call it destroy all the basic institutions in the country, like election system or election commission, police administration, judiciary, civil military administration. All was like just like everybody said yes to the party, yes to the prime minister. So all are the prime minister's men.
Okay.
For example,
Yeah, so it's very personalized, very party-centric, and there's been a dismantlement kind of the institutions and the democracy in general the last 15, 16, 17 years. But that brings us to what happened in 2024, because it's, as you say, in a place where there's no actual democratic accountability, the only way for the people to voice their concerns and to create change has been to go to the streets.
Yes.
But why was it different in 2024? And what actually happened? What has come out of this big revolts that happened in July?
Well, 2024 is actually, they call it July Revolution or Monsoon Revolution, whatever they call it. It actually very unique type of political unrest and mass mobilization, even though there are mass mobilization before. The country history, last 54 years, there are 5, 6 major political mass mobilization, but this was unique. The reason being, after the Hasina tried to put back or reinstate the quota system through the use of loyal judiciary, students, particularly Dhaka University students, started violent demonstration and mass mobilization. Angry with all this party control system, people has no space for breathing. So the main opposition party were almost they cannot work. And one main opposition party now, today, the Jamaat Islami, their party was locked for 17 years.
Oh.
Their main leaders were hanged. And the main party, BNP, now in the power, they are most of the party men were in jail. So the main party were marginalized. So marginalized opposition party, they joined with the student against the rampant corruption, one-party system, party men in politics, administration, judiciary, and of course in police administration. So that's got the momentum. And that's called when everybody was marginalized and they have no other choice but to fight back. So they fight for 36 days. And with these 36 days of political unrest, mass protest, and with the killing of more than 1,400 students, according to the UN report, Hasina escaped to India. And all her top political leaders also left to India. And Nobel laureate Dr. Yunus took oath as the chief of non-partisan and interim government with a limited number of advisors chosen from mostly civil society, ex-member of the army and bureaucracy. They are mostly the non-political, or they are called non-political interim government.
Okay, so this interim government was put in place after Sheikh Hasina and her top leaders were ousted. And what did they decide to do? They were led by Muhammad Yunus, who's like a famous economist, right?
Yes. Actually, you see, after the fall of the Hasina regime, there was a power vacuum. You'd be surprised. I mean, there was no police on the police station. Every police station was burned. People, the police left the station, and young students, school boys and girls, they took the charge for traffic control on the street in Dhaka. Yeah, that's happened.
Yeah.
It was so huge revolt. And actually, it was the police. They followed the order of they call it the political leaders or the prime minister or the home minister to fire on innocent students. So that's why the students were so angry with the police. And police left their station. Entire country was without police few days.
Wow.
It was what it is. That's why they call it the July Revolution was completely unique.
Yeah, for sure. So the interim government, they obviously had a big challenge at this point. You know, there's a power vacuum. The country has been mismanaged for a long time. There's been grand-scale corruption. Probably a lot of it wasn't even really like uncovered, it was hard to say like what is the state of the economy, what is the state of the political system. So what was the next steps here?
Well, actually, you see, Dr. Yunus, the Nobel laureate, Bangladesh was lucky in the sense, I should say. When this change happened, with a huge power vacuum, and Yunus was the only person have been chosen, and he agreed to take control or take charge of the country and then rebuild it from scratch. So actually he tried his best, and 17 months of his rule, many people call it probably the best in the history of Bangladesh, where people can freely express their opinion. They can be active on the social media. They can write, express their views, criticize. Even Dr. Yunus is no action. But previously, the culture is like whatever your all activities, including your social media use, would be controlled, monitored, and then the regime will take action for your anti-government, so-called anti-government activities on social media. But during the time of Professor Yunus, many Bangladeshi I spoke with, they said it was actually like a freedom. They enjoy it. But Yunus handed over the baton to the new government with, as you know, the election held on 12th of February in this month.
Yeah. So we'll for sure also go into the elections that recently happened, and there was also a referendum over a more like political reform. But before that, one of the reasons why we wanted to do this episode is because in the context of this interim government, there was produced what is called the white paper on the Bangladesh economy. And this is a very in-depth report that was produced by, as far as I understood, a group of independent academics, experts that attempted to kind of get a snapshot of the economy as it was today, and also to kind of understand how it ended up in that way. And I'm sure you can tell us more about this report, but from like the headlines, the way I understand it is that it's a quite hard-hitting diagnosis of an economy that is very, very shaped by corruption, financial mismanagement, huge sectors of the economy that have been kind of siphoned off or structured to just benefit elites and not the people. And it's kind of unique in this way, like getting such a wide picture of an economy with no shame in a way. Like there's no trying to hide terrible facts. It's just a cold, hard diagnosis of a country. What more can you tell us about this white paper and what it says?
Yeah, okay, thank you. I think as I just mentioned, Professor Yunus after took the charge of the head of the interim government. And once I remember he was giving a speech on TV and saying that every sector, everything I just touch on, I found it's broken, destroyed, completely destroyed. So one of them is economy. So he actually formed a few committees to suggest what has happened in the past, particularly the last 17 years of Hasina regime, and what can be done and how to fix it. So this white paper, he formed the committee for economy. He formed the committee for administrative reform. He formed the committee for judicial reform. He formed the committee for constitutional reform, all these committees. So economic reform committee, what you call, they come up with they produce the white paper. Actually, it is published the first draft published in November 2024 by the interim government, led by one of the leading economists, Dr. Devopriya Bhattacharya. He's an independent economist. So the white paper actually identified the major areas of mismanagement and corruption, particularly during the last 17 years of Hasina rule. And according to the Transparency International, for example, during that 17 years of her rule, $16 billion was taken out of the country. So it was Transparency International report. And you can imagine what a huge volume of money gone out. And
so like, does that mean like
paper,
tax avoidance or just like capital flight or how does the money move?
It's a capital flight. It's just like, the cronies of Hasina regime.
Yeah.
And then one of the remarkable things of Hasina 17 years called mega project they come up with. And all mega project means people call, I read the newspaper, is a mega corruption. What is a mega project, for example? They built the Jamuna Bridge, one of the longest bridge in the country. They built the power plant with the help of Russia. And they built, for example, the road infrastructure, huge road infrastructure. They built a light rail transport, which never been in Bangladesh before. So all these big projects, there's the international vendors, and there was a partyman, and probably you have seen the Al Jazeera was coming up with an episode called "The Prime Minister's Man" or something like that. So the money goes out of the country because the project you can do with, for example, 4 billion. One of the power plant project, there was the Rupur power plant, the atomic power plant. The India has done it with 4 billion something, and Bangladesh ended up with 12 billion or 15 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the same. That appeared in the newspaper I have read. So this is how the things happen with all that was the slogan of this previous regime before the interim government come, the mega project. They don't like the small project. So all this mega project has a consequences for the economy and mismanagement and corruption. So the white paper also says there are multi-level and multi-type corruption done by political and bureaucratic elites. And the interesting thing, after the Professor Yunus took the charge as the interim government head, he asked his cabinet or his advisors, they call it, to submit their economic report or economic status. They started with, so that they can see when they leave the office, they can again declare their asset, or we call it asset declaration.
Okay.
His cabinet, his advisors, and he also asked the all top level bureaucrats to submit the asset declaration, but only his advisors, including him, they submitted, and they also submitted their asset declaration 2 days before they left the office, just before after the election or day before the election. But the bureaucrat, they never ever submit the asset declaration, and they oppose it, and they said they will not do it. So you can see, this is called how the corruption happened. The bureaucrats are so powerful, and they do corruption with the help of political elite, like Hasina and her cabinet. Most of the cabinet members, they are now either they're outside the country or in the jail. But the issue, what I'm saying, the white paper actually tried to give a snapshot why this mismanagement happened, how this happened. If not the 100% clear picture, but there are some idea and information, and of course the rich information, I should say. But it also emphasized to implement necessary reforms to combat corruption and mismanagement, while laying the groundwork for a robust medium and long-term agenda in public finance management by preparing a credible fiscal framework, including reform of National Board of Revenue, which is actually this National Board of Revenue called NBR is actually the limelight, or I should say, the source of revenue collection.
So
like
this
is the heart
administration
of economy of the country. Yeah. And one more thing to add, according to the UN, Bangladesh set to graduate from the least developed country or LDC category in November 2026 this year. But considering the economic and political mismanagement, corruption, and challenges, so the current status is uncomfortable, and the newly elected government they got power. They decided to keep it hold for next 2 years.
Okay. Because I also found something else in the white paper that I found to be very interesting, which relates to this, development trajectory, connections with international donors, which is that there's a lot of evidence that a lot of public figures and public data was kind of politically decided or manipulated to attempt to showcase a better trajectory or growth, economic growth in Bangladesh than what was maybe actually happening on the ground. And I mean, this is not really a question, it's more of a reflection, because this also reflects quite badly on the international donors and the organizations that were involved with, providing financial support, providing expertise to aid Bangladesh in its kind of development, economic development. Because clearly, if these figures were manipulated, then a lot of actors were giving quite a lot of money to a country based on false premises, and there was probably not enough due diligence done from international institutions and other donors. So it's showing that there's such a widespread miscommunication, manipulation of the state of the economy, where it looks good on paper, donors are willing to invest, are willing to give money, but in the end, people are suffering. The only ones who benefited from this supposed economic growth were elites, but the people were not really, getting out of poverty or receiving public services. So this was very, I think it's very important that this also came to light from the white paper.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about this credible data or information, actually this is correct. In Bangladesh, whatever the national statistics or data from the government source, there is a huge doubt, and actually they manipulate according to some reports or some credible international researches. Always the party in power, they try to show the economy is in good form, the GDP is increasing, the per capita income is rising. Well, Bangladesh economy, I should say to some extent, is not doing bad if the mismanagement and corruption is under control. For example, Professor Yunus cannot control the country last 17 months if the economy is not functional, I should say, even if it is not that good. But it was really functional and it could have done better. And Bangladesh is actually, one good thing is called population dividend. You will see 30 to 40% of population, our age group is 18 to 35. That's one of the, I should say, the strength of the Bangladesh economy.
Right.
So you can see this, and of course the population is like 19 to 18 or 19 million, and if you can calculate, if the 35% of is total 19 to 20 million people, 18 to 19 million people, and 30% of them are age group 18 to 35, what a huge potential. So this is the population dividends. But that's what the Professor Yunus survived, because the economy actually is running, but the regime always try to fabricate the data, showing we are strong in terms of GDP growth rate, strong per capita income, cost of this and that. But there is always a doubt when the government source. I'm not saying entirely false or entirely wrong, but there are some kind of the system manipulation in place, according to some scholars' a report or international organizational report. Yeah, there are the question about the credible data, I should say, from government source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This also been highlighted in the white paper, because the Hasina regime, like 17 years, she have been talking the story of development, all the mega project we built, and end of the day, when the Professor Yunus come, and then people got this white paper and got to know $16 billion gone out, corruption is highest level, and per capita income is not actually what they have been talking all the time. So yes, it is. It is because one way they want to convince the people we are doing good, things are on the good shape. On the other hand, they hide the real data.
Yeah.
When it comes to economic or the necessary information that people need. Yeah.
And so there was so the interim government did a lot of work to sort of uncover a lot of the problems in the Bangladeshi economy. But as it's implied in the name, it's just an interim government. So recently there was an election. Can you tell us a bit about how that went?
Well, it was, of course, the great challenge for Professor Yunus. As I said, he was only for 17 months.
Yeah.
And he actually didn't get that much support he was expecting that he would be supported by all political parties, because all political parties, except Awami League, the State Awami League, they chosen him to be the interim government leader. But then we have seen, actually, the Professor Yunus was struggling. One way, all main political parties, they want to see him on their side, but Professor Yunus don't want to be on one side. So there was always, like in Bangladeshi political culture, whenever you are not with me, you probably with them. So always they try to put pressure on him. So from my understanding as an academic, I realized Professor Yunus Bangladesh was lucky to get him, but he was unlucky not to get support that he expected from all the groups, like military, like police, like bureaucracy, like political elites. So he ran the country with his own ability and his network and his international networking probably helped him to move on with this challenging election, because election in Bangladesh is actually winner takes all.
Yes.
It's not the proportional representation. So everybody is desperate. Everybody put tremendous pressure on to create a condition that help them or that can give them an added advantage. But on the other hand, if you want to conduct an election with a fair play, or call equal opportunity for everyone, for campaign, for media presence, for example, to move around without any restriction, because during the Hasina time, only her party men can go, other cannot. They were restricted to media, they were restricted on social media, they are restricted to move around either. So actually, Professor Yunus tried his best, and probably it was the best election ever, according to the international observer. He tried his best to conduct an election in a fair manner. And it was actually, the election day was like celebrating, they call it Eid or Christmas celebration, something like that. Huge outcome. And then people just took leave from the office. And there was a 4 days or 3 days holiday, if I'm not mistaken. So it was just festive mode of he arranged the election. But there was still hiccup here and there. And according to the Transparency International Bangladesh, they identify and they visited 70 polling station, 70 if I'm not mistaken. And they found some kind of mismanagement or what do you call, like stopping people or fake voting or even the big complaint from the main opposition party, which is now the main opposition, Jamaat Islami, and the newly formed NCP, National Citizen Party. Their main complaint was, they call it the result manipulation.
Okay.
The election was held in free, fair manner, but when it comes to vote counting, they complained that there was a favor from one group or one alliance group, so that they got the 2/3 majority. And most one place, for example, the vote supposed to be cancelled, but one place, if you stamp in the box, empty box, you should vote just on the symbol, not the side of it. On the symbol, the stamp must be on that. But if it is on the side, there is a empty box. If you vote there, it is cancelled. So some cases they got it. They considered it okay. In some cases, they considered it cancelled. So there was a few things that Transparency International identified, but there was not that big compared to the all previous election.
And it's still, the results are considered legitimate.
Are considered legitimate and well accepted. But as I said, there are Professor Yunus tried his best, and that's why it is called the ever best conducted election. Yeah. And with the election, BNP, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which was not in the power for last 17 years, and its allies, they are the biggest winner with 2/3 majority. And Jamaat Islami, an Islamic party, they got the 68 seats alone in the history of their political life, I should say. And the alliance, NCP, Alliance Party NCP, or newly formed, like few months age of the party, they got 6 seats in the parliament, and other Islamic party got 2 seats. So they are the main opposition alliance now in the parliament. And in terms of vote, that is interesting. In terms of vote, the ruling party BNP, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, they got 49% vote.
Okay.
But the Jamaat Islami, they alone got 32%, and the NCP got 3%. Like they all together, and another Islamic party, they all together got 35%. So 49% and 35% vote to the ruling party and opposition. Why I'm saying it is interesting. It is interesting because even though the BNP got 2/3 majority in the parliament, 212 seats in the parliament, but they will not get the same majority 2/3 in the upper house. This is what is the July Charter talked about.
Okay. Yeah. So
this matters. The percentage of vote would be one of the interesting issue that we probably would be discuss further next.
Yeah. So because at the same time as there was an election of vote or of representatives for the legislative chambers, there was also a referendum of the so-called July Charter. And you've highlighted or talked about some of these elements before, but part of what the interim government did was put down these committees that were tasked with, looking at the state, not just of the economy, but also of the other elements of governance of the state. And they came up with suggestions for reform And this was combined, as I understand it, in this July Charter, and there was also found some form of political consensus on this kind of package of reforms. And now it was elected, or through the referendum, it was confirmed also by the population. So what does this charter contain, and where will the government go with this now? The BNP has to kind of take this further, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. The July Charter issue. Professor Yunus, when he got the charge of the country, a ruined economic system, political system, judiciary system, police is not in place. So he just started reform. Actually, he wanted to do something, his vision, he called it, like how to put things in place, especially the political things in order. So he tried to bring on board all the main political parties, except Awami League, because they are not, they are banned by now.
Yeah.
And their main leaders are not in the country either. So all other political parties, they have a long dialogue, and he appointed a committee, very powerful committee, which is, and they discuss a long, and then they come up with some consensus, as you mentioned. This is what is called, quote unquote, July Charter. So July Charter, actually, what is it? It is actually the things that gave advantage to the Awami League to be in the power for last 17 years without credible election, for example, or using the all institution. So one of the things that was included in the July Charter was to bring back the caretaker government, meaning that election cannot be conducted, general election, because in Bangladesh, when the political party, they are in power, when Hasina or Awami League in power, they were always try to manipulate, and they win, and then they got 2/3 majority, or like in a comfortable situation. So caretaker government would be someone which is not from any party before the election. 3 months before, the party in power will resign, and then non-political caretaker will take charge. So this is called caretaker government.
Okay.
So the July Charter bring back that, they recommended that this caretaker government system, it was in place, but Sheikh Hasina, they abolished it. So they want to bring it back again. And then election commission, which is also the key institution that in charge of a free and fair and credible election. And the Public Service Commission, what is the in charge of recruitment in public bureaucracy, which was I mentioned, the quota system that triggered the student demonstration. So caretaker government to bring back an election commission, and the formation of election commission and Public Service Commission. This time, then it is not only the job of the public party in power, but party in power also need to be consulted with the main opposition party so that they can find a consensus. Who would be the caretaker government? Who would be the election commission? How to form the Public Service Commission? Those who recruit people for public service. So all this would not be only the ruling party job, but the ruling party would be compelled to consult with opposition. So there will be some kind of balance. This is one. The other one is constitutional reform. With the current constitution, if the one party, like BNP today, has 2/3 majority, so they can change the constitution the way they want. Hasina did it. And the Hasina did it, like they abolished the caretaker government, which was actually credible, which was actually acceptable, but they just abolished it. So now the July Charter said the ruling party cannot change the constitution alone. This has to go to the two house, lower house and upper house. So this is like, it's not only if you have 2/3 majority, then you can do it. Not that you still need to discuss. You still need to go to upper house, and upper house seats will be distributed not based on how many seats you got in the lower house, but how many votes you got according to the votes. So there'll be some kind of opposition parties to stop or just like put boundary for the change in the constitution. No major constitution change can be done by ruling party alone. The another one is if the ruling party want to change, like abolition of caretaker government, the Hasina did last time. If they want to do that kind of thing, then they have to go for the like what this referendum. So referendum would be mandatory. This is also included in the Judah Charter. Constitutional major change cannot be done without referendum. And then the speaker and deputy speaker, there are two in the parliament. Normally both are from the ruling party. But Judah Charter says the deputy speaker must be from opposition party. And most of the chair of the important parliamentary committee, for example, finance committee, must be from the opposition. So there'll be some kind of control there, some kind of corruption control or whatever you call it, like an accountability. Yeah. And also the women number should be increased, and then president cannot forgive anyone recommended by the prime minister or party in power. So there must be some balance between president and prime minister. Today, president is just ornamental. So these are the two Charter.
All right, so it's a lot of like checks on power that were that has been
actually to combat corruption, to control, to ensure accountability, check and balance of power, so the opposition and position can work together. Yeah,
I just had a quick question about the caretaker government. I didn't really understand the function of that. Is it so? Before every election, there will be for some months a caretaker government. Why is that a good thing?
Yeah, that's also an interesting question. As I mentioned, the history of 54 years of history of Bangladesh, all the election, general election, they are like there was a complaint of corruption, mismanagement, and party biased, resource mobilization from the government, buying votes, for example, is the kind of thing. So the caretaker government is when you are in power, so you can use all the government resources for your party purpose, for example, election manipulation. And you can give instruction to the polling agent, polling officers, because they are the bureaucrat. So caretaker government is non-particle political government. That is the chief of the caretaker government. Normally, he or she is supposed to be the ex-chief justice of the country. Normally, they choose the ex-chief justice, but we don't know what would be the format this time because there will be a question of discussion. So if the chief justice, and then he will choose someone who is not from any political party, mostly civil society, NGO, ex-official of army, ex-bureaucracy, those who have not corruption record or those don't have political affiliation. So they can create a condition for fair play for everyone.
Prior to each election.
Yeah, during the election. And their tenure actually, the 6 months, I guess. They just, I think 3 months is their duration. They conduct the election, then they handed over the power to the elected government, and then that.
Okay. So all of these reforms that you've highlighted, they're not being put into place yet, right? There's been some sort of political consensus about this prior to the election, but now that there is a government and there is a clear majority in the parliament, they need to start implementing these reforms. Do you think this is going to happen? Like, what do you see for the future here of Bangladesh?
Well, it's $1 million question.
Yeah,
because
I know it's going to be hard to answer.
Actually, I should say. when they were promised before the election. Even this reform, July Charter, was actually passed by the referendum. And this is 70%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 70%, they voted yes for this all kind of changes, reform. But the party, the BNP, they took oath as a result of the election, as the main party. They're supposed to, after this election, they're supposed to 2 oaths. 1 oath as a member of parliament, and the 1 oath as a member of constitutional reform or July Charter. But the BNP, the very first day, they took the oath only for a member of parliament. They didn't take oath as member of the constitutional reform or July Charter committee.
Okay.
And they say, we don't need it, actually. We'll do it because it is go against the constitution. But on the other hand, the main opposition party and the NCP, which is actually the student who toppled the Sheikh Hasina, and their party, the young student or young people party, they call it NCP, National Citizen Party, they took oath with the main opposition Jamaat. They took both oath as a member of parliament, oath as a constitutional reform committee. So it was just like a somehow limbo that BNP, they are saying in the media that they will be doing it. But they say it is unconstitutional. It is there is nothing called constitutional reform committee. It is not in the constitution. But then again, there's a question comes. Some experts saying the constitution. If you follow the constitution strictly, then there will not be election in 2026. The election will be held in 2029.
True.
So one way, you accept one part of the election, and referendum overwhelmingly passed and voted by the public, and you just saying that we'll do it without forming the commission. So there'll be something, seems like, as it goes like normal political tussle, there is nothing happen without taking it straight, without take to the street. And as I just mentioned, the citizens have no other choice. But when they say the political elites not listening them, so they took a street and the things settled on the street. So I can speculate probably in coming years, it would be completely depend on the BNP with the 2/3 majority. If they want to do, not to follow all this charter that was mandate given by the citizen in the referendum, so there'll be like the bad days ahead. With probably the struggle again starts. We don't know how long. Maybe sometime we need to see how the BNP go about. But they give a signal that they are not with as it is what the government or what the people mandated through their referendum. Okay. So they are not with ED for now.
Yeah.
Until now. Yeah.
I think that's in a way a great place to stop. I mean, it's impossible to know what's going to happen, but I think this reflection you had here in the end of this whole reform process, it started in the streets, and if it's going to be the same political system and the same parties in place that are refusing to do the reforms that the people have asked for, then maybe it also will come back to the streets. And hopefully,
unfortunately, probably that would be the ultimate. If the political leaders, both position and opposition, don't learn lesson from the history. The history of Bangladesh actually is like always a tussle in politics. When there is an agreement, discussion, and then referendum, and still people, if the political elites decided to play with it, so unfortunately then go back to the old political culture, norms and practice that I can see.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I think that's a perfect way to end the episode, and we'll for sure keep our eye on Bangladesh because there's a lot of things at play right now. So it's also important that people all over the world know a bit more and stay supportive of these reform efforts. So thank you so much, Abdul, for speaking with us today. It was very insightful, and I hope we'll stay in touch.
Thank you, Kaya, and your team. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dette var en veldig fin innføring om et land jeg egentlig ikke har kunnet noe særlig om fra før.
Nei.
Men du har hatt litt erfaring med Bangladesh fra før, er det ikke slik?
Jeg sendte jo deg i forkant av den episoden et faktaark jeg skrev andre året mitt på bacheloren. Så det er jo dybden av min kjennskap. Ja.
I samme sånn design.
Det var ganske estetisk faktaark, hvis jeg kan skryte meg selv.
Jeg fant en skrivefeil, faktisk. Ja, det kan jeg vise deg.
Wow. Ja. Ok, men jeg gleder meg til å se det. Det er viktig å liksom rippe litt opp i det nå.
Ja, det synes jeg også. Men jeg synes det er veldig interessant hvordan de har bare gjort en sånn full selvransakelse av alle problemene med sitt eget land. Jeg kan jo ikke helt se for meg at Norge ville gjort det samme, hvis du skjønner. Altså sånn, det er flaut å si sånn, landet vårt suger på den og den måten. Ikke sant? Men det er veldig, veldig kult at de har gjort det, for det er jo ganske sånn unikt på en måte vindu inn i historien til det landet, og hvordan det faktisk så ut, og ikke sant, som vi har sett, ikke sant, at de kanskje manipulerte tall, og masse skatteunndragelse potensielt, og masse sånne store korrupsjonsproblemer og sånn. Og så blir det en slags sånn ground zero, da. Et utgangspunkt med fullstendig åpenhet, og bygge et nytt system på. Men som Abdul indikerte også i intervjuet, så tar det ganske lang tid å snu et sånt stort skip, på en måte, altså å få Bangladesh til å bli et annet land enn det har vært, er jo veldig vanskelig.
Ja, jeg synes det er veldig kult. Jeg har jo faktisk lest litt av denne whitepaperen, og i introduksjonen så kaller de det selv, altså den liksom komiteen som gjorde denne her gjennomgangen, da. De kaller det et åpenhetstiltak, eller en øvelse i åpenhet. Og det synes jeg var litt gøy med tanke på en måte, våre generelle temaer som vi jobber mye med, da, med tax justice. Det handler jo mye om åpenhet, men også ofte at bare det å få faktaene på bordet, altså det er kjempeviktig at man har tilstrekkelig åpenhet sånn at man kan se hvordan ting ser ut, om det er noen skjulte forhold, korrupsjon og lignende. Men det å ha informasjonen i seg selv er jo ikke nok nødvendigvis. Det handler om hvordan informasjonen skal brukes, og hva man så gjør når man har det faktagrunnlaget for å hindre at dette kan skje videre, hindre at det kan skje igjen. Og det er jo det vi var inne på slutten her, at det er jo ikke helt sikkert hvordan det kommer til å gå. Men en ting som i hvert fall er sikkert, er jo at de fleste av de som har tjent på den kjempekorrupsjonsregimet her, har ikke hatt sin dag i retten, som jeg har lært at man kan si.
Vær så god.
Og altså, Sheikh Hasina og mange av hennes dødsspillere har jo flyktet til India. Og av de, hva var det, 16 milliardene dollar som har blitt sendt ut av landet, da, så er det i hvert fall ikke meg kjent at noe særlig av det har kommet tilbake. Og det er jo, når man ser på en måte tilsvarende opplevelser i andre land, da, for eksempel i Nigeria på 90-tallet var det masse liksom, korrupsjon som trakk masse penger ut fra oljesektoren og sendte det offshore, så er det jo typisk at det trengs en ganske lang prosess i etterkant for å få de pengene. Eller for det første å få folk til å faktisk bli dømt, altså at det skal være noen slags rettferdighet, men også at pengene skal komme tilbake til folket. For dette her er jo folkets penger. Altså det er jo ikke private penger som skulle ha gått til megaprosjektene som Abdul snakker om, liksom. Det er jo folkets penger. Så for at man skal kunne finne noen slags rettferdighet og bygge opp et samfunn igjen etter en sånn her åpenbaring av korrupsjon og råttenhet, egentlig da, så trenger man jo også rettferdighet. Så det blir veldig spennende å følge med på videre. Så håper jeg at flere ble litt interessert i Bangladesh etter dette her.
Jeg ble det.
Yay!
Det funker i hvert fall på en.
Det en seier I seg selv.
Ja, det? Ja, man må jo håpe det. Skal vi si at det var det vi rakk for denne episoden av Pengeland? Gjest I studio var Abdul Quddus, som professor ved Høgskolen på Vestlandet. Programleder I dag var meg, Jonas Veland, og deg, Kaja Guttormsgaard fra Tax Justice Norge. Lyd, musikk og video produsert av Kristoffer Lislegaard, og Pengeland en podcast produsert av og for Tax Justice Norge. Du kan lytte til Pengeland der du hører podcast, eller se det på YouTube. På gjenhør.
På gjenhør. Jeg så I kamera.
Ja, bra du sa. Det høres sikkert veldig rart ut.
Se det på YouTube.
Ja, veldig bra.